Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining today. We will be doing Jai Radha Madhava prayers. And after that, we'll start the session. Hare Krishna. Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Gopi Janavallabha Jayo Girivaradari Jayo Girivaradari Jayo Gopi Janavallabha Jayo Girivaradari Jayo Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanashari Jamunatira Vanashari Jayo Radha Madhavam Jayo Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Jayo Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Prabhupada Jayo Prabhupada Nitai Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Hari Bol Nitai Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Hari Bol Hare Krishna. We recite the Mangacharan prayers. Let me share my screen. So while also, okay, we'll first recite the Mangacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapatantikam Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so before we begin the actual session, we recite this pranam mantras multiple times, but some of us know the meanings of these mantras and some of us don't know what exactly each word mean. We simply recite it many times, but we don't understand the meaning as we are reciting, though there is a translation available. So I thought I would take this opportunity to go through the verse and explain the meaning of the pranam mantras as well, so that we can keep in our mind the next time when we are chanting, we can actually meditate on the meaning of the verses. That's more important. Agyana timira andhasya. So this agyana, or ignorance we have, it is like very dark. It's compared to the darkness. So what is that ignorance? The ignorance that we are actually spirit soul. Currently, we are thinking we are this material body, and we are identifying with this material body, and whatever is related to this material body are my own things, and I have to take care of the material body nicely. We think this is me. We don't think this is my body. We think this is me. That's an ignorance. Or sometimes we identify ourselves with the mind. So the mind, one second, let me check whether my volume is okay or not. Okay. So we identify ourselves with the mind. Whenever there is some problems, there are some problems that happen in our life, and we don't like it. We just feel very sad, and we don't want to do anything else in life at that point. We are just depressed, right? This is because we are identifying ourselves as the mind. If the mind doesn't like something, we think that we don't like that. And so we like some people because the mind likes those qualities, and we don't like some people because the mind doesn't like those qualities. We like certain items, food items, and we don't like certain food items because these are all the things what the mind likes because of the past samskaras. That happens because we are identifying with our mind. If we don't identify with our mind, we would not care for the mind's pulse. So this is an ignorance. We are in the ignorance. We are not identifying correctly who we are. And the biggest ignorance is we are not identifying who is Supreme Lord, which is also next step. We should acknowledge the presence of God, and we should realize that because we have not realized the Supreme Lord, that is also an ignorance. And this ignorance is like darkness. When somebody is blind, they cannot see anything outside. No light is visible in their vision. So all they perceive is darkness. Or even if you close your eyes also, you can perceive only darkness. So that is this ignorance is compared to that darkness. Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. So Shalaka is actually an instrument used in removing problems with the eyes. So using that instrument and using an ointment. What is that ointment? Jnana, knowledge. How can ignorance be destroyed? Through knowledge. We get the knowledge, and the ignorance is destroyed. So this jnana, or the knowledge, is like an ointment, and the shalaka is an instrument. Using that ointment and the instrument, the doctor actually cures the disease of the eyes. This is a traditional Ayurvedic methodology. So the guru also gives us this knowledge, and he is like a physician who is curing our eyes. Chakshuhu unmilitam. So he is actually opening our eyes. we are opening our eyes in the sense the vision is set. So 1 second. So the vision is blocked by this ignorance, but using this instrument, the Guru is opening our eyes. So ena, by whom? Tasmai, unto that person, Shri Gurave, unto that Guru, Shri Guru, Namaha, I offer my obeisances. I offer my obeisances to the Guru who has cured the ignorance through providing me knowledge, acting like a physician, and has opened my eyes in the sense that has opened my vision for the spiritual path. And to that Guru, I am offering my obeisances. That is what this mantra, this verse mean. And the next verse is the Prabhupada Pranam mantra. So the Prabhupada Pranam mantra, it starts with Namaha, I offer obeisances to whom? The next words are giving the identification of the person. Vishnupada. Vishnupada means one who is situated at the lotus feet of Vishnu. So it is an honorary title given to a exalted Vaishnavas. We have Prabhupada like that. Vishnupada. Prabhupada also means the same thing. Prabhu is the Supreme Lord, and one who sits at the feet of Supreme Lord is Prabhupada. So Vishnupada means one who sits at the feet of Vishnu. Krishna Preshta Bhutale. So in the material world or in the Bhu or the earth, he has established Krishna. Shrimate, the honorary person, Bhaktivedanta Swami iti namine, the person who has the name Bhaktivedanta Swami. So I offer my obeisances unto this person. So this first two lines are commonly used even for our own gurus also. We just replace the name and then we use it. So this is a very common thing. But then the specific characteristics of the person is revealed in the next two lines. Namaha te, I offer my obeisances unto that person. Next is Saraswata. So Prabhupada's guru is Saraswati, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So the disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati becomes Saraswata. So Saraswati unto that person. It is not Saraswati, it is not Saraswati. We are not offering obeisances to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. We are offering obeisances to Saraswata, the descendant or the disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Deva, unto that Lord, Guru is also considered the Lord here. Gauravani Pracharine, one who preaches the Vani or the words of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. That is what Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Ashunyavadi Pashyati Deshatarine. Nirvishesha means no qualities, no characteristics. That's what Nirvishesha. Vishesha means some specific characteristics are there. Nirvishesha means no characteristics, which is the impersonalism. So the impersonal form of the Lord does not have any Vishesha, no qualities. Shunyavadi, this is referring to the Shunyavada, that is usually the Buddhist philosophy. So these two philosophies were very prominent in the Western world. So the person who has delivered the Western world from this Nirvishesha and Shunyavadi, that is this person, Bhaktivedanta Swami, and to him I offer my obeisances. Paschatya Desha, that is the Western world. So he delivered the Western world from these two kinds of philosophy. So this is Prabhupada Pranam Mantra. And then next we recited Pranam Mantra of the Panchatattva. So here it is actually very simple. It is all the names of the Lord. That's it. So it is in a form called Sambodhana, vocative form. That means you are calling out to the person. So in English, you want to call out to somebody. let's say a person called Devadatta is there. So you would actually call that person, hey Devadatta, right? But if you want to mention that person in a regular sentence, you would say Devadatta. So if you want to say Krishna, you would say Krishna in Sanskrit. But if you want to call out to Krishna, you would say Krishna. That's it. So similarly here, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, we are calling out. It's indicating we are crying out to the Supreme Lord, Krishna Chaitanya. And Prabhu Nityananda Prabhu, we are calling out to him also. And we are calling out to Advaita Acharya. And then we are calling out to Gadadhara. And then we are calling out to all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, starting from Srivasa Thakur. So Srivas Pandit. So Srivas Adi, headed by Srivasa, all the devotees of Lord Gauranga, we are calling out to them. Then the Hare Krishna mantra, it is calling out the same way as the Panchatattva mantra. Krishna is, we are calling out to Krishna. And Hara, when you call out to Hara, it becomes Hare. So in this way, these mantras, whenever these verses, whenever we are reciting next time, we can remember the meaning of this. Thanks. Okay. So anybody has any questions before we jump onto the session? Comments? Let me check. Okay, so we'll start our session. So today is Varaha Dwadasi. Yesterday was, yeah, Ruby Mataji, you have something to say?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. All I wanted to ask was, Koladi Prabhu was mentioning that there are two Varahas. I thought there was only one Varaha, Dev, who has killed Hiranyaksha, but he mentioned one was white and the other is Sham. So which one is the Varaha Dadashi today? Or is it the same for all?
Okay, thank you for asking this question. Yeah, actually, Rupa Goswami mentions this in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. There are two types of Varahas. One is the Shweta Varaha and the other one is the Neela Varaha, or the Black Varaha avatar. It's not actually mentioned today which Varaha appeared and we are celebrating for which Varaha. So we could consider it for both Varaha appearance together. But in we'll see in the session later that actually there are more number of Varahas mentioned by Sanatana Goswami, not just two forms. He mentions multiple other forms also, and they come for different purposes. So, so it's not actually mentioned today which Varaha appeared, to answer your question specifically. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. So it means I will learn more. I thought that I was already surprised with two.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, so today is Varaha Dwadashi, and yesterday we did the fasting of Ekadashi. And part of the fasting, we also fasted for today's Varaha Dwadashi as well. So the fasting for Varaha Dwadashi subsumes in the fasting we did on yesterday Ekadashi, because we cannot fast on Dwadashi. We have to complete our fast. So the fasting was done in the previous day. So Krishna appears multiple times in this world. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya saduskrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So he appears yuga after yuga in this material world for establishing the dharma, and then kill the miscreants, those who disturb the dharma. But if we seriously introspect and think about this topic, why Krishna has to appear in this material world to establish dharma? In the beginning of the creation, when the Supreme Lord just thought that let the world begin, the whole creation started automatically happening. Why if the whole universes, the multiple various universes could be created just by the thought of the Supreme Lord, which is a very complex process? Why not the dharma also be established by just a mere remembrance of the Supreme Lord, mere wish of the Supreme Lord? You should just will for that. That's it. Everything should happen. There is no need for him to manually come here and then personally establish something with his own hand. And also, he doesn't need to worry about the demons as well, because the demons are nothing for him, because he is already within the demons as the Paramatma. Supreme Lord is staying inside them. If just one moment he thinks, they cannot even move. He can choke them. He can choke their breathing. He can choke their prana. They can be very easily killed. So why then the Supreme Lord has to come to the material world just for these two purposes? That seems to be just an external purpose. There should be some deeper purpose for that. So our acharyas explained that actually Krishna comes to this material world because of his love for his devotees who are there in the material world. So many of us are performing our own sadhana bhakti, aiming to attain the Supreme Lord. And when we advance in our bhakti, we actually get to participate in the pastimes of the Lord before we actually become fully eligible to get transferred to the spiritual world. So for that purpose, because of his bhakta vatsala nature, the Supreme Lord appears in this material world to fulfill, even though the persons are not fully eligible to enter the spiritual world. So that's one purpose, that he wants to reciprocate with his devotees who are almost on the verge of perfection. But then there is also another purpose, that he wants to reveal his pastimes to the entire world. If God doesn't come and tell about himself, we would be in a clueless situation. We won't even know who is God, what to speak of, what activities he's going to perform there. The max we can come to the conclusion by our induction or by our own thinking process is that we are everything around us is temporary, and then we should aim for something eternal. That's all the conclusion we can come. Many of the the philosophers in the earlier Egypt culture, not Egypt, the Greek culture, they were having this speculation. They were coming to this impersonal conclusion, right? You can come to that conclusion even without the presence of the Supreme Lord, but one cannot know beyond that what's going to be there. How is there God or not? If there is a God, how is going to look like, and what activities he is going to perform? Is he a good person? Is he a bad person? Is he merciful? Is he looking beautiful? Does he have a form? Does he not have a form? Why did he create this material world? And what is his intention behind all these things? And if he exists, what he will be doing day and night? He has to do something, right? So, and what is there a purpose would be there for the Supreme Lord to do anything if everything is already accomplished by his willpower? All these questions cannot be answered unless the Supreme Lord comes himself and reveals who he is and what is he doing every day. That is the main purpose, that he is actually coming to this material world, not just for the establishment of dharma and killing the miscreants, because that can be very easily achieved. That's a secondary purpose. The primary purpose the Supreme Lord comes here is to reciprocate with his devotees and to reveal his glorious pastimes so that he can attract new people, the jivas who are suffering in this material world, they may get attracted by the pastimes, and through that, they will also attain the Supreme Lord. So this is his main goal, and this shows his merciful, causeless, merciful nature also. There is no cause for him to reveal. It is like a Bill Gates coming to my home and then saying, I'm Bill Gates and I have so much money and this is what I do from morning to evening. Why would he do that? And who am I compared to him? Right? Why would he choose me and then he would come to me and then tell about his whole life? There's no point unless he himself decides to do that without expecting anything in return, because he doesn't need anything from me because he's much more powerful and all things are accomplished for him. Similarly, the Supreme Lord doesn't need anything from us. He doesn't need our love also, because that is automatically there in the spiritual world. And so many glorious devotees are there. Why does he need to come here? Because of his merciful nature. He doesn't expect anything from us. He just wants to save us from this material world, and he wants us to be happy and participate in his pastimes. That's the main reason actually he comes and reveals, unfolds his pastimes. Lord Varahadev. So Lord Varahadev has a very peculiar form. Most of us, at most religion, first of all, they don't even talk about the form of God. If you take the Islamic religion, they say God is great, God is glorious, but they don't describe a form of the Lord. They don't put a form of the Lord. Even in the Christianity also, they say there is God and he is a person, but they don't describe his form, and you cannot represent his form in this material world. But in Vaishnava theology, God is not only described. God has not just one form. God has so many forms, so many different forms, varieties of forms. Why is this? So this is explained in Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it contains 3 volumes. The first volume primarily talk about Narada Muni, exploring who is the recipient of the highest mercy of the Lord. And then he comes to the conclusion that gopis are the highest recipients of the mercy of the Lord. But in the second chapter, there is second volume, there is another story starts with Gopakumar. So Gopakumar actually was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. So even if you go to Vrindavan today, you may see so many cowherd boys there. So he was also one of the cowherd boys, and he was playing around with his friends. And at one point, a sadhu came, and this sadhu was always, chanting the glories of the Lord, and he was crying out to the Supreme Lord in ecstasy. So looking at this sadhu, all these cowherd boys, they got very much attracted, and Gopakumar developed too much attraction for this sadhu somehow. And he actually started doing many service to the sadhu, bringing milk to him because he's a cowherd, right? He can supply milk, taking care of him. In this way, the sadhu also became like a friends with all these cowherd boys. But at many times, the cowherd boys would sit and see that the sadhu is actually crying out to the Lord all the time in ecstasy. So one time, he was meeting this sadhu, Gopakumar in Vrindavan. So the sadhu told that you go and take your bath in the Keshi Ghat and then come back. So then, respecting the sadhu's word, he went to the bath, Keshi Ghat, and took bath and came back. And this sadhu, he actually gave a mantra. So this is the initiation process, Diksha. So in that process, he has received a 10-syllable Gopala mantra. So in ISKCON, we have 2 phases of initiations. In the second phase of the initiation, you receive a secret mantra from the Guru, which you should not utter to anyone else. So that is a secret mantra that indicates the completion of the Diksha process. So similarly, Gopakumar also has received Diksha mantra from this sadhu. It's a 10-syllable Gopala mantra. So after saying this mantra to Gopakumar, the sadhu actually fell unconscious and he went into ecstatic state. Then Gopakumara did not want to disturb this sadhu. And after some time, the sadhu woke up and then simply went away somewhere else. And Gopakumar couldn't find where did he go. And he also don't know what to do. This sadhu gave this mantra to me. How should I chant this mantra? And what's the goal of this mantra? Nothing he knows. So anyways, out of respect for the Brahmana he had, and out of the friendship he had with the Brahmana or the sadhu, he actually started chanting that mantra. So one thing he understood, however, in his conduct with the sadhu is that the sadhu was always glorifying the Lord of the universe. So that he held on to it. And then because of the influence of this mantra, he actually started searching, who is this Lord of the universe? And then he went to another place. And then he met a Brahmana there. A Brahmana was actually performing, all his puja for a Shalagram Shila. And then attracted by that, he went to that Brahmana. And after he finished his puja, he asked that Brahmana, who is this? And the Brahmana told him, this Shalagram Shila is actually the Lord of the universe. So then Gopakumar was very happy to see the Lord of the universe. But then after the once whole puja is over, the Brahmana took the Shalagram Shila and he put it in a box and then he hung around his neck and then he started walking away. Then the Gopakumar became very sad. Oh, you have taken the Lord of the universe and you put it in a box. Now, how is he going to eat? He's going to be very congested in that box. So then this Brahmana said, see, Lord appears in different forms and he receives different types of reception in various places. So I am a poor Brahmana. I can only give this much to the Lord. I cannot continuously offer him items. If you want to see gloriously the Lord is being worshipped, you go to the nearby kingdom. So influenced by the words of the Brahmana, Gopakumar went to the nearby kingdom, and then by turn of events, he became a king of that kingdom. And then from there, he went to Jagannath Puri. And then from Jagannath Puri, he heard about the demigods. And then he also heard that demigods also worship a form of the Lord. And by chanting his mantra with the desire to achieve the heaven, he actually went to the heaven. Quickly, he was transported. This is the power of the mantra. The mantra was so powerful that he did not know what's the goal of the mantra. He did not know what procedure to follow to utter the mantra. But then just by reciting the mantra, he perfected it so much that he was able to achieve all his desires. So he went to the Swargaloka. He saw the form of the Lord there directly being worshipped by all the devatas headed by Indra. Then after staying there for some time, he heard about Maharloka, and there a different form of the Lord is being worshipped. Then he went to Maharloka and he witnessed a completely different form of the Lord. He was very happy to see that form. He stayed there for some time. Then he heard about Tapaloka, glories of Tapaloka. And then he went to Tapaloka. But in Tapaloka, he didn't see any form of the Lord. So then he was being advised that actually the form of the Lord you can see in meditation. So in Tapaloka, there is no external form. You can see the form of the Lord in your meditation. So then he saw the different forms of the Lord in his meditation. It was very conducive for meditating. Then from Tapaloka, he went to Brahmaloka to see another form of the Lord, the form of Sahasrashirsha Purusha, who is situated in the Brahmaloka. Then from there, he proceeded to the layers of the universe. So the universe is covered by many layers. We started crossing earth layer, water, fire, and each layer is having different forms of the Lord, varieties of form. In the earth layer, Lord Varaha was situated. He is the deity for the earth element. So he was there. He worshipped Varaha, and then he worshipped different forms of the Lord. Then he went beyond the universe, and then he saw it was Brahmajyoti. The light, the superior light was everywhere. And there he met Lord Shiva, and by the advice of Lord Shiva, and then when he was talking, some of the Vaikunta residents of Vaikunta, they came, and influenced by their attractive form, he went to Vaikunta. So Vaikunta is a place where there is no kunta or suffering. So he finally reached Vaikunta, and then he saw the Lord of the universe, sitting majestically, the Vishnu form. But he was wearing a cowherd boy dress still all through this journey, through multiple days of Brahma. He was having the same form. By the effect of his mantra, he was having a spiritual body by now, but it resembling the same form he was having in the material world. So he reached the Vaikunta, and when he reached the Vaikunta, the associates of the Lord, they were saying that, you should wear dresses like us, you should become opulent, that is suitable for worshipping the Lord. But then he wasn't ready to give up his cowherd simple form. He was satisfied with that. And when he used to look at the Vishnu form, he was actually looking at Krishna form there. But even though he was looking at Krishna's form, though Vishnu was sitting there, he wasn't quite satisfied there. How could this happen? Vaikunta is a place where there is no dissatisfaction happens, because it is not material. It is a spiritual place. In spiritual place, nobody would be dissatisfied. Everybody would be completely satisfied. How could this happen? He was also thinking at that time. Narada Muni came. So Narada Muni then was first of all surprised to see that Gopakumar was having a sad face. Why did this happen? Right? So Narada Muni understood that it is because of the mantra that Gopakumar was chanting. Because Gopakumar was chanting the Gopala mantra, his natural affection for Gopala or Krishna has come. So because he was naturally attracted to Krishna, he wasn't satisfied in Vaikuntha Loka. Though he was seeing the form of Krishna in Vishnu, he wasn't satisfied there because he was not able to witness the pastimes of Krishna there. Vishnu was performing majestic pastimes there, but Krishna was playfully playing around Vrindavan. He wasn't able to see that those pastimes. So he was dissatisfied because of that. Narada Muni understood that. And on top of that, Gopakumar was having so many questions because he didn't get educated by his spiritual master, because the spiritual master disappeared after giving him mantra. So there he saw so many different varieties of living entities in the Vaikuntha. Some of them were like animals. The animals were there in the Vaikuntha Loka, and trees were there. And some were like sages in the Vaikuntha Loka. And some of them were like Brahmanas. And they are all going and worshipping the Lord. He was thinking, how could so many varieties can exist just like in the material world? How can animals be here in Vaikuntha? Vaikuntha is a superior place. How can trees and other living entities which are considered lower in the material world, sort of low class, we don't respect animals here in the sense that the animals are in the level of evolution of consciousness, they are considered to be a little bit low. So we don't consider them as superior. How come they can be there in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha Loka? And who could take that position, right? All these questions were there. So then Narada Muni started answering that, and he said that there are varieties of forms of these devotees exist, and all of them are devotees, including the animals and the trees and plants. And this because they had different bhava for the Lord. Whichever bhava they have worshipped the Supreme Lord when they were in the material world, they had achieved those similar forms. if some people worship the Vishnu as the Supreme Lord in the form of Indra, sometimes Vishnu takes the position of Indra. So when they worship Vishnu in the form of Indra and they attain Sarupya Mukti, what happens? They also receive a form like Indra in the spiritual world, and they become Indra, and then they assist the Lord's pastimes being as an Indra. And if you worship Lord Varaha Dev, and if you desire to attain a Sarupya Mukti, you would also attain a similar form of Varaha Dev in the place in Vaikuntha where Lord Varaha Dev is exhibiting his pastimes. So it is the mood of the devotee created different varieties in the spiritual world. And to satisfy the mood of the devotee, the Lord also takes varieties of the forms. He comes as a boar, pig, which is Varaha. He comes as a horse, Hayagriva. He comes as a bird, Hamsa. He comes as a snake, Shesha. He comes as a person with thousands of heads, thousands of hands, thousands of legs, Sahasra Sirsha Purusha. And then he comes as a tortoise. He comes as a fish. He comes as a human, Krishna, Rama. And within the humans also, he comes as a Kshatriya, and he comes as a Vaishya, and he comes as a Brahmana. And then in a short form, Vamana. And then same form becomes very big. So also he comes as what else form he comes as? He comes in these varieties of forms. So he comes in a wonderful form that nobody has seen. Is half man, half lion. We don't see such forms anywhere. He comes in completely a different form, Narisingha. So in this way, the Supreme Lord takes varieties of forms, not like other religion where we don't have form of the Lord. We have form of the Lord, not just one form, many forms, not just human form, but in all sorts of varieties of forms. And when the devotees aspire after these forms, they attain a similar position so that their seva could be continued eternally in the spiritual world in those positions. So this Narada Muni gave as an answer to Gopakumar why the varieties exist. And we also got the answer why Lord appears in varieties of forms. So there Sanatana Goswami also mentions that Varaha Dev actually appears 6 times, 6 different ways, 6 different forms. The first form, he appears in the beginning of the universe. So before I proceed further, does anyone has any questions or any comments you would like to make? Okay. Let me also check the online. Okay. All right. So we'll continue. So in the beginning of the creation, Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, was lying down in the Karanam ocean, and he glanced into the Prakriti, Pradhana, which was lying down. Pradhana is the material nature. Material nature was very calm. There was no agitation because the gunas were very in equilibrium state. They were not being agitated. So the Lord Mahavishnu glanced into the material nature, and then it started agitation. He injected jivas into that pradhana, and then the time also he injected, and the different gunas started agitating. All the different products of the material world, starting from Mahatattva, Ahankara, senses, Tanmatras, and then the Panchamahabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, and ether. All these things came out to create the universe. And, universe in the form of an anda, it started coming out. So then the Lord entered each of this universe and filled up half of the universe with this perspiration, which became the Garbhodaka ocean. Then he laid down in Ananta Shesha in the Garbhodaka ocean. From the navel of this Garbhodaka, Shai Vishnu, a lotus sprouted. In that lotus, Lord Brahma came out. And Lord Brahma did penances for so many years, and then he achieved the realization of the Lord, after which he started proceeding with his duty of creation. Lord Brahma lives for 100 years. One day of Brahma has 14 manvantaras. Each manvantara has about 71 Divya Yugas. Each Divya Yuga has Satya, Treta, Dwapara, Kali, 4 yugas. So in this way, his single day itself is very huge. And 30 of these days consist of 1 month for him. And the 12 months of this constitute 1 year for him. And he lives for 100 years. Now, today, at present, it is first day of the first month of the 51st year of Brahma. So Brahma has already completed half of his life. He is entering into the next half of his life. And this is the first day of the year, 51st year. And this, every day of Brahma has a name to it. So the name for this day of Brahma is Shvetavaraha Kalpa. Kalpa is the day of Brahma, Shvetavaraha Kalpa. Why it is called a Shvetavaraha Kalpa? Because Lord appeared as Shvetavaraha in the beginning of this creation. So in the beginning of the creation, when Brahma wanted to create, he was thinking his main duty every day when he wakes up from his nidra, his main duty is to fill up these universes with the population. That is his main duty. So he has to devise a way how he can, fill up the universe with the population, so that different living entities will get an opportunity to enjoy their karma, whatever the karma is destined to them. Or devotees can come out and they can also attain their perfection in bhakti. So this is his main duty. So while he was meditating in this way, suddenly the 4 Kumaras appeared. So the 4 Kumaras represent the 4 types of knowledge: Sankhya, Yoga, Vairagya, and Tapa. So because all these 4 types of knowledge are also useless without bhakti, they were also having little bit bhakti, but they weren't fully devotees. So when the 4 Kumaras appeared, Brahma asked them to create the progeny, to create the population. But he refused. All the 4 Kumaras, they refused it, because they were thinking this is karma yoga. Performing varnashrama dharma is actually not so fast process. They were already in the jnana platform, or they have crossed this karma yoga platform, and then they were in the jnana platform. So they thought that there is no point in performing this karma yoga. So in the karma yoga process, you actually get married, you have children, and you perform the varnashrama dharma. All these duties come into picture. But in the jnana process, you will be remaining as a sannyasi. So if sannyasi doesn't get married, so he doesn't have any progeny. So they refuse to obey the order of Brahma, even though Brahma only created them. So Brahma becomes a father for the 4 Kumaras. So Brahma got very angry because the 4 Kumaras disrespected the words of Brahma. Brahma is so great because he is the engineer of the whole universe, this particular universe. And his words, just like that, they disrespected. So this created a lot of anger within Brahma. But Brahma also has a lot of intelligence. He knows he has to control this anger. So using his intelligence, he controlled his anger. So this is also a very good lesson in anger management. So the anger arises all we have to do is constantly witness our own self. Suddenly we get angry, we get provoked by somebody. We have to monitor. Oh, I'm being enraged. Heat is coming out of me. I'm being forced to take vengeance on the other person or criticize the other person and do something harmful to the other person. But we should observe that, and then we should control that anger. We should not let that anger take over us. This is a lesson on anger management. For that, first of all, we need to be continuously aware of what's going on in our mind. So we need to constantly monitor our mind as well. What's going on, not let random thoughts enter there. So Brahma, being expert in meditation, he had that power. He controlled that anger. By controlling that anger, by holding that anger, still that anger burst between from the middle of his brows, and it came as Lord Rudra. Rudra is personification of one way you can say that he's the deity of anger, he's the deity of ahankara. So he came out, and then he was immediately crying. This was all happening in Brahmaloka. So he was crying, and then he was saying that, oh Father, you have given me birth. Who am I? Tell me my name, and tell me a place for me to reside, and tell me what should I do for you. So, this is how the babies of people who are having higher consciousness, they react. So when we have babies, they don't have any consciousness. They slowly develop their consciousness, and then when they are 3 or 4 years old, then they start recognizing everything. But if your consciousness is very elevated in the sense of devatas and so on, you would have the children, and they are able to speak to you, and they understand world in a much better way because they are very elevated souls. So Rudra was immediately understanding what's going on. So he was asking, who am I? Give me a name. So Brahma was first of all satisfied to hear that Rudra was asking him, what should I do for you? So Brahma said, because you are crying, you are called Rudra. Rudra means one who cries. And then you will be called as Rudra. And then he gave him some places to stay. And he also arranged for his marriage, his wife. He gave his consorts. Because Brahma's main duty is to increase the population. So then he asked Rudra to increase the population. Rudra obeyed. But Rudra, being the deity of destruction, he created all the progenies which were coming from him. They were also endowed with the nature of destroying everything. So they started destroying everything in the universe in the beginning of the creation. And then they were trying to devour even Lord Brahma. So Brahma, looking at this, oh, what's going on? We just started the creation. We don't want the creation to be ended. Then he went to Rudra, and then he said, no, you cannot create progenies like this. You have to stop. Then he said that there will be a time for you at the end of the creation. At the time you can come and you can create all these beings to destroy everything. But right now you should not do that. Then he asked Rudra to go and do austerity, continuously perform tapas until the end of the universe, at which time you can come and you can create all these progenies to destroy the whole world, whole universe. So then after saying this to Rudra also went to the forest, and then he performed this, started performing the austerity. Then Brahma was contemplating what else I'm supposed to do, how to create the population. So he was thinking about it. At that time, so many sages were coming out of Lord Brahma. Vasishta came, Daksha, Bhrigu, Kratu, Angira, Atri, Marichi, all these different rishis, they started coming out from his body. And then different dharma and adharma, all these things are also were coming out. Then Walk came out of his body. Walk is a daughter of Brahma because she came out of the body of Brahma. But then Brahma got attracted by this walk. He was running over after walk. But then, being advised by his sons, he stopped that activity. And then he gave up that mental disposition. That became the darkness. So you see, even a darkness is also an entity. It is not just a mere absence of light. It is also an entity. It was created by Brahma in the beginning. So one other lesson to learn here is that the sons who are lower in status comparatively than the father, the rishis, they actually advised Brahma. So, but in a way that not in a way to, not with a hatred toward that person, not with a sense of offending the person, not with a sense of pride, I behave better than Brahma, or not with the sense of thinking that Brahma was actually doing a faulty thing, he's a faulty person, he's filled with fault. They were not thinking like that. They thought if Brahma behaved like this, running after his own daughter, then the whole universe would act in that way, following after the great Mahajans. So, Mahajana yena gata sapantha, whatever the great men act, those way the common men also follow. So, they thought that this has to be stopped. So, then with that goal in mind, they went and advised Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma also accepted. And then he completely gave up his disposition, and then he was having his regular body to create other living entities. Narada also came out of Lord Brahma. So then, even though he created these rishis, still the population was not increasing. He was wondering why. How I am putting so many efforts and still the population is not increasing. What should I do? Then when he was contemplating on that, immediately two living entities came out of Lord Brahma's body. One was having a beard and one was having breasts, which is identifying the female, and the former one is identifying the male. This is Swayambhuva Manu and his wife. Both of them were there. So Brahma was happy to see them. And then Brahma's, when they came out, they immediately asked Brahma, what should I do for you? So this is also representing the duty of a son to satisfy the father. He should be grateful because the father has given birth. So when they asked, what should I do? Then Brahma actually said, you should increase the population. Then they got Swayambhuva Manu and his wife married. And he said, go and increase the population. So at that time, Swayambhuva Manu asked a question. If we have to increase the population, then we need the earth. The earth is the place where the population is has to be spread around. Earth doesn't mean the small globe that we are seeing in the modern science. Earth is the Bhumandala, which is including other realms, which we are not able to currently perceive it because of our limited senses, but it is much more bigger than the modern round globe, what we are seeing. It is including realms in other dimensions as well. So Swayambhuva Manu asked Brahma, where is the earth? You have to give us the earth. Without that, or the Bhumandala, without the Bhumandala, we cannot increase the population. This also shows that Swayambhuva Manu, even though he was just born, he was also aware of things. What should be there, what should not be there. The earth should be there. How did he know earth should be there? Because he was aware of the Vedas. The Vedas provide the knowledge, and through that knowledge, you can know everything. So in the previous ages, there was no other source of knowledge other than the Vedas. The Vedas were the source of all sorts of knowledge. Take for medicine, Ayurveda, or military science, Dhanurveda, or you take pronunciation, Sanskrit, you have Upaveda for that. And you want to see the future, you have Jyotisha Veda. And how to manage morality in the world, you have Smritis, Manusmritis. How to get liberation, you have separate Shastra for that. And you have Atharva Veda also consisting of so many incantations, chantings, with which you can achieve different things. So all the Vedas were the source of all sorts of knowledge. You want to understand how the creation is done, you read the Vedas, you will understand how the creation is done. So using the Vedic knowledge, he understood what is supposed to be there. Then he said that the Bhumandala has to be there. Then at the time, Brahma saw, where is the Bhumandala? Then he saw that Bhumandala was actually immersed in the Garbhodaga ocean. So in the previous night of Brahma, devastation happened. Because of the devastation, the water has engulfed the Bhumandala, and the Bhumandala got immersed into the Garbhodaga ocean completely. So now the Bhumandala is within the water. How one is supposed to bring it out? It's so huge. So when he was contemplating, Brahma was what to do right now. Then when he was contemplating, suddenly a small figure appeared from his nose. Very small, like a size of the thumb. It was white in color. He was looking curiously, what is this form? All the sages were also looking at this form. What is this form? Suddenly this form became so huge, like a big boulder, a huge elephant of size. Then they could understand. Oh, such a beautiful form. It's a form of a pig, hog, Varaha. They were thinking, this Varaha, form of Varaha is so beautiful. It was white like a moon. So beautifully it is looking, and it is attracting, charming all of us. It is not like the pig which we see in the real world. This is completely charming and attracting. Even Brahma, who has conquered his mind through meditation. So then Brahma understood this must be a divine being. Then after contemplation, he was understanding, oh, this must be my Supreme Lord, because other than him, who can capture my mind in a spiritual way so much? Then the sages also recognized him. This is the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is a form of the Vedas. He is Vedas embodied, Vedas personified. He was not a mere hog form. He was actually Vedas embodied. So later in Bhagavatam 3rd canto, it will be described that all the Vedic paraphernalia, including the spoons we use for yajna and the different types of yajna you perform, and even the priests who perform the yajna, all these, ghee and different items you use for performing and the mantras, all these things came from Lord Varahadev, because he is the form of the Vedas and the yajna, also yajna Purusha. So this Varaha was present, and all the sages were glorifying him with the beautiful prayers. And Varaha glanced at them. They were very happy just by looking at his glance. And then understanding that they are what they are looking for, he dived into the Garbhodaga ocean. When he dived into the Garbhodaga ocean, the waves, they were just splashing because he was so huge. He was hitting the Garbhodaga ocean very hard. There was two waves, this because of the split of the water. It was coming out like as if two hands were raised and then trying to embrace the Lord like that. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also explains that as if these two hands were praying to the Lord. Oh Lord, you are diving into us. It looks like you are about to kill us, the ocean. Oh, please show your mercy upon us. Like that, Adishaya Ukti. Then Lord Varaha entered the Garbhodaga ocean. Then he sniffed out the earth, the Bhumandala. He's a white Varaha. He's not a black Varaha. He's a white Varaha. So then, and that's why we call this Varaha, this Kalpa, the day of Brahma, as Shweta Varaha Kalpa, white Varaha Kalpa. So then he took this Bhumandala and then he was tried to situate there. So this whole pastime was being narrated by Maitreya to Vidura in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this pastime, what happened is Maitreya actually combined another form of Varaha into this pastime. There is another form of Varaha who is dark in color, Neela Varaha. So he killed Hiranyaksha. So he combined that pastimes part of this because his goal is not to enumerate the different avatars and then give a chronological order. His goal, Maitreya's goal was to glorify particular form of the Lord. He was enumerating different pastimes of Lord Varahadev. So he said that after taking out the Bhumandala, he actually killed Hiranyaksha. But the form which killed Hiranyaksha is Neela Varaha, black Varahadev. So when he said this, Vidura was asking the question, why did he kill Hiranyaksha? Then the pastime of the Lord as Neela Varaha begins from that point onwards. So before I jump into the next topic, anybody has any questions, comments, like to add anything?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dhanavad Pranam.
Prabhuji, you were explaining about the secondary creation where Brahmaji is asking different sons to create. So
Yes.
I was wondering, it is said that the Durga Devi is the predominating deity of this material nature. So what is her role in this secondary creation? How do we understand the connection between the secondary creation done by sons of Brahma and the role of Durga Devi in this?
Okay. Thank you. So the second, she is in charge of Maya. So the Maya Shakti actually comes from Durga Devi. So the Maya Shakti actually bewilders the Jiva. It does two functions. One is that it first covers the intelligence of the Jiva. So when the Jiva is injected by the Supreme Lord into this Pradhana, here, first of all, Jiva has to understand that he is not this Jiva. He is actually a part of this material world, his body, right? So somebody has to cover his intelligence. So this Maya actually covers his intelligence. And then once the intelligence is covered, then she shows all the material products, which look very attractive at that point for the Jiva. So this is the Vikshapa. First one is the Avaranatmika Shakti, and the second one is the Vikshapatmika Shakti. First one covers the knowledge of the Jiva. Second one provides the material objects which look very attractive to the Jivas. So these are the two functions that are done by the Maya Shakti of Durga Devi. And this is the same thing that is also mentioned when during the meditation Samadhi of Vyasadeva, he saw that being advised by Narada Muni, he meditated. And then in that meditation, he saw he saw the Supreme Lord, and he saw the Jivas, and he also saw the Jivas were covered by the Shakti of the Maya. And he also saw the Maya Devi was hiding behind because she was doing the thankless task. It is like a parent want the children to be properly educated. They would, in India, not here, olden days, when I was small, my parents used to send me to a tuition center, and then they would come to my tuition center and they will say, beat him nicely so that he becomes obedient. Nowadays, if you beat the kids, they'll put you in the jail. But, in India, when I was small, that was a norm. People used to beat. And the parents are okay with that, but the parents won't witness the child getting beaten up because they don't want their children to be beaten up, but they also want their children to be obedient. So they go and advise, the teachers like this. So like that, Maya Devi was also doing, trying to put the jivas into a proper position. So she was doing sort of, beating activity. So because of that, she was shameful to come in front of the Lord. So she was behind the Lord. So there also Vyasadeva witnesses the form of Maya.
Thank you, Prabhu. So it is majorly in the Pradhana stage, she has the role. And of course, she does this covering and kicking thing later also.
Yeah.
So when it comes to putting the living entities into a material form, may not be exactly form, but she has the role in before secondary creation. Is
Yeah.
that?
Before or even currently also, because if my the jiva is not covered right now, then I would be realizing I'm a jiva. I cannot enjoy anything here, which is against my free will. So I have to be continuously covered. So that is done even now by Maya Devi.
Okay, bro. Thank you. So the shapes are given by the secondary creation, but the covering and the purification is taken by Durga Devi.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay. So Nila Varaha. So it's actually a very big pastime. We are almost nearing the end of the session. So in essence, what happened was sage Kashyapa Muni, he was meditating, doing his regular, meditation activities. And at that time, one time his wife, Diti, she was influenced by lust in her heart. So then she asked Kashyapa Muni to engage with her in sexual activity. And that was in the Sandhya time, in the evening Sandhya time. The time matters what time you are trying to conceive a child, because that can decide what soul is going to take shelter of both of the parents. So she was being pierced by lust. She was asking Maya Kashyapa Muni to engage in sexual union. But Kashyapa Muni understood that this is not the right time, because Lord Shiva is roaming around, and he is roaming around with us, all his Bhutaganas, all the Pishachas and other ghostly living entities. So he thought that it would be offending Lord Shiva if we go and have this union at this time. We may have a terrible result also. So he actually glorified his wife, saying that, you are actually you play a very important role in my life. In fact, all the wives play a very important role in the life of a human being, because they become the center of the home, and then they help the husbands, practice spiritual knowledge properly, and they act like a boat in that way. So he glorified the wives in general, and then he said that wait for some time. But he was also not very fixed in his standpoint, but being pulled by Diti, he actually accepted, and then they went into sexual union. Then later he went and took bath, and then he realized what a mistake he has committed. And then because he was a Sarvagya, he was able to see what's going to happen in the future. Then he started criticizing Diti. What have you done? You have done a very terrible act. And because of this terrible act, you will get two demons in your birth. It was not a curse, it's a prediction that it is going to happen because of the union at the wrong time. So he said, we are going to get two asuras who are going to terrorize the whole universe. And they are going to create havoc in this universe, which is very bad. It is like in the modern day, if somebody comes and tells you you're going to have a son who is going to become the world's worst terrorist, right? How would the parents be happy hearing that? And that the terrorist would kill thousands and thousands of civilians. Would any parent be happy about it? No. So similarly, she was also very much afraid. But then Kashyapa Muni was saying that at the end, both of them will be killed by the Supreme Lord. So that was a relief, because if you get killed by Supreme Lord, you would definitely attain a very good destination. So that is also a mercy of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord, we may think why he comes and kills the demon. Killing the demons is also an act of mercy of the Supreme Lord, because if they die normally, they would attain a very low destination. They would go to hell and suffer for innumerable number of years. But the Supreme Lord, being merciful, he kills them by his own hand and he gives them a higher destination. So hearing this, she was happy. And then he also said that your grandson will also be a very great devotee of the Lord. This Prahlad Maharaj. So then she wanted to actually not do any harm to the whole universe because of her two sons. So she was trying to hold this Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu in their womb, in her womb for a long time, for hundreds of years, because of her power, Tejas. She was able to hold these two people. But the Devatas were able to see that, all the bad omens are appearing because it is indicating it is a bad time is approaching them. It is not good for them. They approached Lord Brahma and they were asking, what is the reason for this? Why these bad omens are appearing? And Lord Brahma started narrating the story. Once the four Kumaras, who are the son of Brahma, which we saw in the beginning, they came out of Lord Brahma and they disobeyed the order of Brahma. But then they were Gyanis, so they are roaming around. So once they decided to go to Vaikuntha. So they crossed 6 gates of Vaikuntha and they went to the 7th gate. They were throughout their journey, they were being blissful because Vaikuntha provides bliss. Even though they were Brahman realized, they are self-realized, they are liberated. Even for them, Vaikuntha was providing bliss. That means Vaikuntha is superior to liberation. So they were entering that Vaikuntha and they were stopped by Jai and Vijay. Jai and Vijay were looking very angry, and then they stopped, blocked the path of the Kumaras from entering, the 4 Kumaras. The 4 Kumaras suddenly burst into anger. The question will come, oh, they have achieved a very high stage in Samadhi. How can anger affect them? This is the problem with impersonal meditation. You may go to a very high stage, still you cannot guarantee that anger, you can control it. Anytime it could appear. The Kumaras, it appeared. They are the best of the Gyanis. They are the best of the impersonalists. For them, the anger suddenly came into picture. And that anger, they were very angry. How can you stop us? You are seeing difference between us and the Supreme Lord. This is a difference, dual mentality of duality. You should not have this mentality. You have a separate place in the earth where the duality happens. So go there, go to the material world. They cursed the Jai and Vijay. So at that time, learning this thing, the Supreme Lord appeared. He was very beautiful. And there the beautiful verse comes, Tasya Ravinda Nayanasya Padara Vinda Kinjal Kamishra Tulasi Makaranda Vayu. So the Supreme Lord, when he appeared, there was Tulasi leaf at the lotus feet of him. So that Tulsi leaf was having makaranda, or the pollens of that manjari, Tulsi manjari. So a breeze was coming out of Vaikuntha and then it touched that pollen and then it was entering into this nostrils of the 4 Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sananda, and Sanat Kumara. So when it entered their nostrils, their meditation broke. They were turned out inside out. They were completely mesmerized and their whole body got shaken. Just the wind touching the pollen of the tulasi that is placed at the lotus feet of the Lord. that has the power to agitate the minds of those who are fixed in impersonal Brahman. That is the Bhagavan. That is the power of Bhagavan. That agitated them completely, agitated in a good way, that they became so much attracted to the Supreme Lord. So anyways, long story short, Bhagavan at the end, he says that it is all my arrangement. Don't think that you have cursed my associates. It is my arrangement. They will go down to the material world because I have a desire to fight. And I need equal partners in fighting. Who could be equal partners in fighting with the Supreme Lord? Only his devotees, nobody else. These asuras in the material world, they are useless. They can be just kicked away by the Supreme Lord. So he made their own devotees. Actually, it is by the request of Jayan Vijay Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in Madhurya Kadamini that they went and prayed to the Lord that they want to fulfill the desire of the Supreme Lord, that he was not getting anyone equal to fight with. Because of their own request, he arranged this plan. So that plan, they became Jayan Vijay. The Jayan Vijay became Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyaksha, when he was born, he started terrorizing the whole world. By just his mere appearance, all the devatas went into hiding. He was very fearful. And Hiranyakashipu was also born. So to satisfy his brother, Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha was roaming around everywhere having a gada in his hand, a mace, to fight with everyone. He was challenging wherever he was going. Come on, fight with me. People know that nobody could be very equal to in power with him because he was so powerful, a demon. The devatas were afraid of him. He then went to the loka of Varuna. And then he directly called Varuna, come, fight with me. Varuna understood that, he cannot win this demon. So he said that, I became old. I cannot fight with you. Actually, there is one person who can fight with you. Go and challenge him. He is Supreme Lord. He is Vishnu. Go and fight him. So then Hiranyaksha got angry with Vishnu. He wanted to fight with Vishnu. So he was going and challenging Vishnu everywhere. So then at that moment, the Neela Varaha, the black Varaha appeared. And then he was having a terrible fight with Hiranyaksha. Fight for a long time. All the devatas and all the rishis were watching how this fight is going to end. Because if the Lord loses the fight, the devatas would be in a fix. And in certain moments when the fight was going very intense, Lord was slipping. Just as a fighter would sometimes fall down. Immediately all the devatas were just holding their hearts there, watching that what's happening. Looks like the demon will defeat the Supreme Lord. If that happens, we are in a terrible condition. Varaha was playing there because it was his desire to play. So anyways, seeing that the devatas were getting agitated, he immediately killed Hiranyaksha. So this is the Neela Varaha or black Varaha Dev. And Sanatana Goswami was describing that after he killed Hiranyaksha, he went to his own planet. And the other forms of the Varahadev was also, he was describing that one of the Varahadev forms, it taught sacrifices because he is the Yagya personified, and he lifted the earth and he talked to the earth. The Varaha Purana, if you read Varaha Purana, you will see a conversation between the Varaha and Bhumi. So he taught the Puranas and then he disappeared. And there is another form. He appeared. At one time, what happened? The entire Bhumandala was not, in this, equal state. There were so many boulders and different things were on top of the Bhumandala. It was not in a flat shape. So Lord Varaha appeared and then he was flattening out everything, pulverizing the mountains with his tusks. Like the boars in this world, they would do this kind of activities. They would just go and dig the earth. We should not mistake just because the Supreme Lord is behaving like a regular boar. He is also looking like a boar. But the nature of the bore to dig out the earth, the regular bore in this world, that is actually coming from the Supreme Lord. Just like we have the human form and human nature, this is all part of the human form of the Lord. Humans are created in the image of God. Like that, every living entity is also created in the image of the Supreme Lord. So they derive their attributes from the Supreme Lord's form. So one form did like that. And another form of Varahadev, he actually got together union with the earth, the Bhumi. The Bhumi became his wife. And then he produced two sons. And then what happened? He finally went and merged into Nrsimhadev. You have Varaha Nrsimha form. And then in another form, Lord Varahadev, he actually appeared and then he was holding the earth. So the earth at one point, it has sunken down. To lift it up, it did not sink into the ocean, but it has gone down because there were what happened was one time Vishnu took the position of Yama. This pastime comes in Varaha Purana. So one time Vishnu took the position of Yamaraj. So when he took the position of Yamaraj, nobody was dying because he is Yamaraj. And he made sure that, dharma is so much spread and bhakti is so much spread that in such a way that nobody would die and come to the Yamaloka. Even if somebody comes, they are witnessing the Supreme Lord. So what to speak, they won't have any death. So there was no death happening in the material world, but the population was keep on increasing. And because the population was too much increasing and there was nobody is dying, not just in this round globe earth, but other realms also, it started putting weight on the Bhumandala. And the Bhumandala started going down, down and down because of the heaviness. So so the Lord understood the problem of the Bhumi. Then he took the form of Varaha and then he pushed up the whole earth. And then he's put everything in his tusk. And then he was holding the earth for some time so that the earth doesn't need to fall down or stand on its own. So in this way, he performed another pastime of Varahadev. So with this, we will read one verse from Gita Govinda, which is glorifying Lord Varaha. Let me open. Anybody has any questions in the meantime or comments, you can share.
Yeah, Prabhu, my question was, why did Varahadev have to take the color blue?
Oh, your voice is not clear, Ruby Mataji. Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I actually wrote it down too. Can you see?
Oh, why did Varahadev had to take a blue color? Well, this question we can ask even to Krishna also. Why Krishna has to appear in blue color? Or other question also we can ask, why Krishna has to play flute? Why not harmonium or guitar or something like that? Why he has to play flute? Why he has to take a Vaishya form? Why not Kshatriya? Right? And why Varahadev has to take a blue form? Why not some other regular form and a regular color? Why this color he has to take? So these questions, in one sense, they don't have answer because if suppose Varahadev, instead of taking blue color, he appeared in, let's say, pink color, right? So then again we would question, why did he appear in pink color? So any characteristic he is going to take, we may ask the same question, why did he do this? So this question, I don't think it has an end to that, Mataji, unless you have either insights or anything else you want to communicate. Hope this helps. Okay. So let me show one verse from Gita Govinda. Okay. Zoom. Right. So Gita Govinda, in the first song, he glorifies Lord Krishna, and he says Krishna takes different forms. And one of the very famous verse also from Gita Govinda is this verse. Tavakara Kamala Vare Nakham Adbhuda Shingam Dalita Hiranyakashibutanu Bhrangam Keshava Narahari Rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare. This also comes from Gita Govinda only. So in the same Gita Govinda, the previous verse is actually glorifying Varahadev. Vasati dashana shikare dharani tavalagna shashini kalanka kaleva nimagna keshavadhrita sukara rupa Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Vasati Dashana Shikare. His Dashana is his tusk, in the tip of the tusk, Dharani. The earth is staying there. It was as if moon is stuck, just like Lord Shiva has a moon in his head. Like that, this earth is stuck like a moon in his tusk. So that is the form of Lord Varahadev. So that Varahadeva form is taken by Keshava, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna has taken the form of Varahadev, and let us glorify that supreme Lord, Jagadisha, the Lord of the universe. Let him become victorious. So we will stop this. Unless anybody else has any reflection or question, we'll actually stop our call here. Okay, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak about Lord Varahadev and the pastimes from Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. कृपासन्नभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय. Hare Krishna.